right. I'm recording back-to-back videos this time. Just got done talking about social media and basically how almost everything that's on social media is fake and designed to, just get your attention. But on this one, we're going to change the subject. On this one, I want to talk about a concept called generational wealth cliff. Okay. Uh, what that basically means, like, so it's a natural process, but I think everybody generally knows and understands that I'm going to be talking kind of generational stuff. So the boomers have probably the majority of the assets in the country. They have, I don't even know what it is. It's probably over 50%, but they have all the homes, all the cars, all the 401ks and the stocks and this, that, and the other. A lot of it is largely because they've just been around forever. They've been alive long enough, or the longest, in order to be able to accumulate all those assets. But the other half is, a monkey could have thrown a dart at a list of stocks and probably made money. Um, if you take if you zoom out to on the stock market from the was it 1929, the Great Depression. After 10 years or 15 years or World War II was over, I mean, it basically looks like that, like for 40 years straight. Like when they when we were done with World War II and Korea and all that stuff in the 40s, 50s, in general, and I'm generalizing, in general, a you, you could have raised a family on a single income. Now, part of that is we have more um, requirements and things and opportunities to spend our money on these days than what they had back then. Um, but also, like, at the same time, like, things are just cheaper. Um, so when we're talking about generational wealth, like, you have with all these, even like I think the youngest boomers are just starting to hit retirement age. They can start retiring. I don't know if that's exactly right, but it's basically pretty darn close. So in the next 10 years, um, the boomers, late Gen Xers, and all these people, they have all these assets that are generally at the peak of their value. Well, because they haven't retired, because the generations after them haven't had the same opportunities. Were I think largely less healthy, um, like as a cohort, or than what they were during their time, like the boomers at their time. We have more immigration, legal and illegally. Um, their and the interest rates are higher, and the interest rates have been high for the 50 years, so everything's been devalued more and more and more. Like there's no capacity to buy millions of homes at their peak value. It just can't be done. Like we're not like uh, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, or we're not having kids at the replacement rate, so there's automatically going to be less people to buy just the amount of assets that these members have at those prices. So that's one reason why the prices of these things are going to go down. Uh, the millions of people that we have, uh, I would argue, I don't even know if we have more illegal immigration than legal, but by and large, a lot of the immigrants that come in, they don't come in uh, millionaires. Like, maybe we'll claim a percent, but I doubt it that much. Like, you have um, a lot of people, and especially illegal immigration that comes in, and they don't have the capacity, the skills, to be able to make enough money in order to buy all these assets. Um, so we could continue every year. We could import 10 million illegal immigrants every year, just to ensure that our population remains at 330 or 40 or whatever the number. But the number of those people, at least initially, like, they're not going to make the hundreds of thousands of dollars a year that you would need to buy the $750,000 house or the $1 million house. Um, Stocks that have a PE ratio of like 300 plus. Looking at you, Tesla. And yeah, not all of them are like that, but uh, like, prices will come down, and that's both a good thing and a bad thing. We should be cheering. We should be like, depending on what side of the cell that you're on, you're going to want the prices to go down. Like, we have to have deflation, because if everything keeps inflating, like, nobody will buy anything, and then the thing collapses anyway. Um, so just, I think even like the youngest boomers, or in their mid 60s or whatever, I think in the next 10 years, like, all these people that are holding on to assets thinking that either they're going to pass them down to their kids or grandkids, a lot of them aren't going to want it. Because if I was living in an apartment barely making ends meet, you'd say I had a $1,500 a month apartment, you could hand me $1 million. Like, I can inherit $1 million house that might have 5,000, or let's see, we'll say $5,000 a month, or no, not 5,000 a month. Say $2,000 a month in property taxes. I could be given a free house, but I'm still paying 2,000 a month on property taxes on, say, a $1 million house. But you couldn't afford, or you could barely afford $1,500 on an apartment. You're not going to afford a free house that you have to pay $2,000 on property taxes, because you got maintenance and all this other stuff. So even if you did inherit it, you would sell it. And if you were the only one in the entire country, then that probably wouldn't be a good bad thing. You would sell, get your $1 million, pay the government their pound of flesh, and call it a day. But when this happens generationally, like when all the boomers hit their the years where they're dying and needing, like, increased medical spending, when they all start offloading these assets, that $1 million house won't be worth $1 million anymore. So the price will come down, which is good. But that also means the taxes and things like that that are attached to that house are also going down, unless, of course, the government increases the taxes even more. So, it's just an idea. I don't even know what the outcome is going to be. I just know that there's probably going to be probably a pretty good deflationary event, where you won't buy a Ford Ranger for $100,000. Like, the price will just come down because nobody's going to be able to buy it. And these companies still do want to make money, I hope. So I don't know what's going to happen. I think if you were to build a pile of cash in the next 10 to 15 years, you can probably take advantage of some fire sales on stuff. And it's really kind of that's essentially what it is. I think we're not producing uh, citizens with the capabilities of purchasing things at ever increasing prices, which you could argue you don't even want that anyway. And the Federal Reserve has in their mandate to 2% inflation every year. Well, over the course of I don't know, it's like 70. I think it's like the rule of 72 is what it is. But over time, like the price of everything doubles, so you're always automatically built into the system that you're already behind and you're fighting a losing battle 2% at a time. Now, if their mandate was 0% and actually stuck to it, houses should theoretically never increase in price, or very, very, very slowly, um, not because of cheaper money, but because either increased population or like the ebbs and flows of housing markets just in general. Um, so yeah, that's that's kind of that thought. I think they'll. I'm not even going to call it a second Great Depression, although depending on what side of the transaction you're on, you might call it that. But if you're the younger generations, you should be praying for a depression because that means all the asset prices go down. And would you rather buy a stock at $1,000 a stock or buy a stock at $500 a stock? Like everybody should want cheaper stuff because eventually, once the excess cash runs out, once uh, the boomers that you're going to have to pry those CEO jobs out of their cold dead hands, nature will take its course, and uh, hopefully the people that replace them at least have some experience to be able to do a good job. Um, but we just have to let the healing uh, occur, and like just grin and bear it for probably another 10 years. At that point, I think a lot or the majority of the boomer generation will be gone. 10 years, I'll be retired. Like I'm making my money and I'm getting out of the way and letting someone else start. Um, I got a few things to do before I actually retire. Um, Pay off the house, things like that. But like I promise I am not going to be one of those people that you know are like a director at 70 years old, 80 years old, and I just like it because I mean I tell everybody what to do and I make $1 million. The director doesn't make that, but like say if I was like a higher up um, in a higher up position, like a vice president or something like that, and for the most part, like I control either my department or the direction of the company, or I'm in control of my sphere of influence. That's nice, and to be able to have the flexibility to kind of generally come in when I want, leave when I want, and my job is just talking to people and building relationships and things like that. That's nice. It's not a grind per se, but you also get to do that at like the vice president salary or wage, um, and it's you could you could argue whether or not that's easy or fair or stuff like that, and I understand both sides of the argument, but it'd also be nice if a lot of these companies paid a living wage, and they usually don't. So, yep, okay. This is at almost 15 minutes for the video, so be interested in your thoughts on this generational wealth cliff. Maybe I'll actually script out another video and it'll be a little more coherent. I've just kind of been working with it for a few days, kind of rolling around in my head. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I don't think the the prices of everything are going to continue going up. I personally think we're going to have a I'm not going to say collapsed economy, but I think we're going to have like another recession, probably depression, and there'll be like a pretty big deflationary event on everything, only because like nobody can actually buy anything. All these big corporate companies are laying off people uh, by the tens of thousands. I think UBS said they were going to lay off about 20,000 people, and then a week before that, Intel said they're going to lay off 21, 22,000 people. So watch my other video talking about layoffs. We're all going to be self-employed in the future anyway. Kind of give my thoughts or hear my thoughts on that. Um, and yeah, so stay resilient. Don't make any dumb decisions with money. Um, Try not to react too hard when the stock market goes up and down. Just continue with your plan, and I'll see you in the next video.